So here is a document from my foster care records that I wanted to read out because I found it very interesting. I use the word document loosely because this looks super unprofessional to me. So this is supposed to be an assessment of my dad. All these black marks are redactions of people's names, including my dad's and his partners, as if I don't remember those names myself. Now, when I sued social services, this is the thing. The investigators, so I had gone through a stage 2 complaint with the social services department. After the investigation was concluded, they wrote a 28-page report. And within those 28 pages, the investigators argued that this assessment to see whether I could live with my dad or not should have been done about 8 months before. Because me and my mum were no longer living together. I was living with friends, I was on buses, I was in car parks, like all of that. They also noted in this report that this has no date on it. They have a rough idea of when it took place because of case notes were in my files. They don't know the exact date this took place, and that's so unprofessional when you work in social services. And they also brought up that there's no signature. They think it was the social worker at the time, but the investigators to this day don't even know for sure. So let me quickly read this out, because this might give people an idea of when parents are being assessed, whether their child can live with them or not. And not just parents, but also family members. This might give you an idea of the type of stuff they look at and the type of things that they assess. I'm going to call my dad Mark, and his partner, so his girlfriend, Sarah. Mark and Sarah. From the visit, my views are as follows. Mark's situation is that he is not receiving any financial income of his own and is reliant on his partner Sarah for everything. Mark is unemployed but not receiving benefits. He is in debt of £25,000. He was on job seekers allowance for 6 months until September 2008. It was then stopped. He was not offered income support because he was living with Sarah, who was working more than 16 hours a week. Mark has been looking for work since and has applied to different supermarkets such as Asda, Tesco's and Sainsbury's, and has found there is competition and has not even got as far as an interview. Mark continued to look for a job at the job centre and in newspapers and in shop windows, but he has said he has not been successful. I promise you, my dad was not looking for a job. I promise you. And part of that was because his partner didn't want him to. That's a whole, I'm not going to go into all of that, but he didn't look for any job. Mark has said he would like to find a job and will continue looking for a job after Christmas. Mark was asked to provide proof of his debt. He said he would do. Mark said he was not bankrupt, but his debt was pretty much the same thing. Mark has been seeing Lauren more often over the last 18 months. Previous to that, he had not had much contact with Lauren for 11 years. He said he didn't trust Lauren and didn't feel he could manage Lauren's behaviour. Mark does not feel he can cross his partner, Sarah, who is not agreeing to have Lauren living in their house. I asked Mark about his alcohol levels. He said he drinks 4 litres of cider on a daily basis. Yep, so my dad is an alcoholic. Sarah drinks 2 litres of cider a day. 1 pint of cider is 2 to 3 units. The average units for a man is 3 to 4 units a day. That is the NHS recommended amount. There are 2 units in, I can't even understand this because I have dyscalculia. There are 10 units in 2 litres of cider. Mark is drinking 5 times the recommended amount, and this has been the case for the last 6 months. Mark has been an alcoholic for the last 10 to 12 years. Lauren's mum, so it says her name, but I'm not going to say it. Lauren's mum feels Mark has never put in any rules or boundaries for Lauren when she stays there. Lauren has been allowed to watch 18 plus horror movies whilst being there from the age of 6. Oh my god, he used to make me and my sisters watch horror films. Make us. He would keep us in the room. I keep saying Lauren, yeah. I'm going to start just saying Slaney, even when it says Lauren, because people keep calling me Lauren and I don't want to be called Lauren anymore. Slaney has been allowed to stay up until the early hours of the mornings using the computer. Mark has informed Lauren inappropriately about Lauren's mother's past, having been and had a Interpret that how you want. I'm not gonna say out loud, but it was something that my mum went through, that my dad told me when I was about 10, and he shouldn't. It's not something any 10-year-old should be told. Lauren's mum has, Slaney's mum, I keep saying Lauren. Slaney's mum has also in the past. I can't, it's my family's business. I'm not going to read all that out, right? Mark puts his own needs above anyone else's, and this includes Slaney's emotional needs. Sarah's daughter, has 2 children subject to a child protection plan in Leatherhead. So my stepmom's daughter, so I guess my stepsister, had social services involvement for her own children. Over the period Slaney was accommodated, Social services were exploring a DV incident and the grandchildren were with Sarah for the time being. The children, okay, I'm not going to go into like the children's life, but basically it's saying, Sarah was saying that she didn't want me to live there in case the children got taken into care. My stepmom would try and apply to have those children live with her. So she was saying we don't have room for Slaney in case these kids come to live here. Sarah clearly stated that she did not want Slaney to live with her in the home. She felt if this happened, she would end up a nervous wreck, unable to manage her own life and family. Sarah feels she has enough going on with her own daughter. Sarah felt the house needed consistency and reliable care, and Sarah said she could not provide that and feels that Mark is unable to, having not parented Slaney since she was 4 years old. Sarah said, "It is my house and my grandchildren come first." With the information above, it is clear that Mark is an alcoholic, and it is clear enough that he would not be able to put his mind to Slaney's needs above his own. Mark has not parented Slaney for the last 11 years and has been back in touch with her over the last 18 months. This lack of contact over the years, in combination with the level of care and level of communication he has generally had, may not be sufficient. Regarding Mark's financial standing, he is completely dependent on his girlfriend for his finances. If Slaney was to move into the property, Sarah would be responsible in supporting Slaney financially, to which she is reluctant to do so. I mean, I don't blame her for that. Sarah is not willing to have Slaney living with them in her home and has clearly stated this. The emotional impact of this on Slaney would be detrimental, a further rejection and possible neglect, not wanting to go there in the first place. Sarah has also said she would probably be the one looking after Slaney, and she does not feel able to take on that level of responsibility with her own job. Sarah's situation with her own grandchildren currently is unpredictable, and she has said that the care of her grandchildren would come first. On my visit to Mark, I asked him if he would be seeing Lauren over the Christmas period. He said he didn't know. I asked him if he had thought about this. He said no, but he would probably give Slaney a ring on Christmas Day. Mark has not been consistent in his contact with Slaney over the last few months, or has taken it upon himself to find out if she has been safe when she has been missing, has not demonstrated any concern for Slaney when he found out she had been living with a 20-year-old man. Since I've made inquiries with Mark about the prospect of Slaney living with him, he has not contacted the office to make any inquiries about Slaney or how she is. Instead, he has clearly stated he does not want Slaney living with them, and he would not put his relationship with his girlfriend in jeopardy for Slaney's sake. Mark has not demonstrated any appropriate concern for his daughter or any wish to care for her. He is prepared to talk to her on the phone at length when he has been called, but his responsibility does not go any further than that. In my view, it is doubtful that Mark would be able to meet Slaney's needs. Although there would be support from Jazz for Mark to be able to care for Slaney, it would take some time for the work to get to the point where sufficient progress is made. And then we have a little risk section. Risks: Slaney feeling unwanted and a nuisance in the home, experiencing further feelings of rejection and potentially experiencing emotional abuse. Slaney's needs not being sufficiently met due to the resentment of Sarah and Mark's alcohol misuse. Lack of boundaries in the home. Risk of Slaney going back to her pattern of drinking and I smoked weed like a handful of times, and now it's in my foster care records that I take, or that I used to. Lack of attendance at school, yes. So that was the assessment. It's very odd. They never did the assessment on my mum. Social services at one point threatened to take both my parents to court for child neglect and abandonment. My mum had kicked me out. Neither of them were willing to have me at home. And yeah, they said they would take my parents to court. They said they would put me on a child protection plan, but social services never did, which would have been good if they did, because it would have sped up me getting into foster care quicker. From when my mum kicked me out to when I went into foster care, it was 10 months. Obviously, that was written back in 2010. I think 2010. It's all good. I make jokes about my daddy issues all the time. The next video that I'll be posting will be explaining why I haven't explained why I went into care in the first place. Give me a few hours. Okay, once you've seen this, give it 3 or 4 hours and it will be up.